Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. It's a year later. I'm here with Rickard Noel of the Real World. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? I'm happy to be back, happy to be here with you, man. The first interview you did, it went great, so I'm happy to do a second one with you, man. And I thank you for taking your time out to do this with me. Okay, so I worked for 2 years in the South Bronx. I used to work for a company out there, not-for-profit. We used to work for Home Base, the homeless prevention program, that was brought in by Mayor de Blasio. So from working in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, I became aware that majority of the people working that were living in the South Bronx were living under the 200% poverty level. So imagine being poor, then twice as poor as everyone else. So working there, like, I was fully aware of it, and I used to see it every day, especially with individuals with the mental health issues, individuals living solely on public assistance and government assistance, and individuals that were living with a high-level drug addiction. So I kept that in mind, and I kept that with me. So we wanted to do a feed the homeless for last year, but because of COVID and the pandemic, we realized that it wasn't just the homeless that was hungry. It was like everyday people as well. So we picked the South Bronx, and as you saw, it was a lot of people that came out, a lot of people that needed food during that time, that's currently living in poverty. So I thought it was a great place to go, and it turned out great. It was a great turnout. I want to say thank you to Sheila. Sheila and I did a garage sale, actually a mansion sale, ironically. We did a garage sale in the mansion, and we was able to raise funds for that toy drive. So we did a toy drive in Jamaica, Queens. We gave almost 200 toys out. I think it was 180 something toys that we gave out. You should have seen the line. The line was around the corner at times. It was a huge blessing, and shout out to the youth of Herman SDA from my home church that came out and helped us support. Shout out to everybody that came out and support. Shout out to Amanda, a Southside Jamaica, Queens native, that came out to help us as well. So it was a great event. We had a bunch of toys. We made a lot of people happy for Christmas, and it was a blessing. A little bit of both. The demographic that we're trying to help are those that are living in poverty or those that are living under the poverty level. Like the Bronx that we just spoke of. The Bronx has the highest poverty level in all the 5 boroughs. Is Bronx, then second would come Brooklyn, then third would come Queens, fourth is Manhattan, and last will be Staten Island. They have the smallest population. So with the Real World Ministries, Inc., which is a 501c3 public charity, our mission is helping those in need by assisting them with everyday need. So whether it's clothing, food, shelter, that's what we help to provide. Our ultimate goal is to help people all around the world. We're already a nationwide company in the United States, and we have helped people from many different countries, and we're continuing to build on that. So it's very important to get donations and to raise funds in order for us to continue to do the work. Real Word TV. We're working on a couple things with the Real Word TV. As you can see, the numbers have been going up. We're now pushing over 4 million views altogether. Shout out to everybody that subscribed to our YouTube. That's www.youtube.com/The Real Word TV. That's The Real Word TV on YouTube. You can put that in your search bar as one word. It'll come up. So what we're trying to do is we're already on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we also do the podcast, Spotify, Apple, Pandora, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. So we have those covered, and we're also on cable TV twice a week, 3 times a day. What we're trying to do now is transition the show into a major network, because we're on the local public access television. We're trying to get on a major network or a major streaming service, such as Netflix. So one of the things that we did last year was we sent a care package over to Tyler Perry out in Atlanta, Georgia, trying to get their attention. And we're working with individuals now to try to get on Netflix or maybe Hulu or one of those major streaming services, so that we can be on a bigger platform. That's the ultimate goal, to make the show even bigger. Like I said earlier, we have already expanded outside of New York City. We've worked with people from Arizona. We actually sponsored a basketball league out in Arizona. Shout out to my homegirl Jillian. Her and her husband, they run a summer league in Arizona, and we partnered up with them about 2 years ago for that. We've also partnered up with people in Mississippi. Shout out to my friend out in Mississippi. We did, Brittany out in Mississippi, we did a feed the less fortunate out there. And shout out to all my people out in Florida. We trust Florida as well. We've also helped people in foreign countries such as Haiti and India and places like that. So we've helped the people in multiple countries by, one, sending funds obviously, but also employing them. We employ several people out of India and Bangladesh and countries like that. So by doing that, we give them a way to provide for their family, and then they provide a service to us. But we also keep growing now, you know. One of the plans is to establish a food bank or a donation system in Haiti, because I'm originally from Haiti, and I want to partner up with local businesses out there to try to help them, because there's a lot of people in Haiti in need as well. I would say that, and this might come off kind of weird, but I would say the biggest motivation that I've had outside of God was myself. In a sense that it's easy to say that my motivating factors is a mentor or a family member or a child or children or things of that nature. But at the same time, those things can come and go at any time. I feel like every morning when you wake up, God wakes you up, but you have to drag yourself out that bed. You know, you have to get up and get dressed and go to work. You have to actually put food in your stomach and find a way to put food in your stomach. Being the executive director of these companies, the Real Word TV, and the Real Word Reality, you know, everything starts and finishes with leadership. You know, there's a lot of interchanging parts around you and people that work around you to help you, but you got to be self-motivated. Same way where like people who feel like giving up sometimes, because there are people that feel like giving up. There's people that fall into depression. There's people that commit suicide. There's people that go through hard times and they give up on themselves, you know? It's not like other people gave up on them. It's that they gave up on themselves. So, and we usually all go through that time, myself included. And whenever I go through difficult times, I tell myself, just get up and go. You know, there's going to be another day. As long as there's another day, there's a chance to do better. There's a chance to fight. There's a chance to keep going. So, of course, I'm motivated by my family and my children and everything else. But at the same time, I have to be the leader. I have to be the one that says, okay, I'm going to get up and do something with myself. Because there's people with kids, there's people with wives and mothers and children who sit on their behind all day and don't do anything. You know, I can't depend on external factors to motivate me. It has to start with me. We have a faith-based company. That's why it's called The Real Word, because it was, at first it was the Word and the Word became flesh, right? And at first it was just the idea of the real Word, and then that became flesh. It actually became life. And if you look at the logo, it's two hands. I'll show you the logo right now. So as you see the logo, it's two hands holding up the Bible, and when the Bible opens up, the world opens up to you. And that's exactly what happened, as in those two hands are actually my hands. You know, the business side and this side would be my past. So it's like, what am I without God, right? And that's why after every episode of the Real Word TV, we say a prayer after every episode till this day. And a lot of the people that are included in the company are God-fearing people and believe in God. Even the school I went to was a Jesuit school. Again, you know, all centered around God. And I feel like the steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord. And it's the Lord that's ordering me to do these things. Because like I always say, if you told me 5 years ago I'll be able to accomplish all these things, I wouldn't believe you. Honestly, when I heard about COVID-19 taking place, I felt like it was a farce. Not not the fact that people weren't getting sick, and not the fact that people weren't dying, because that obviously did happen. People did lose their lives and people did get sick. But I felt to a certain extent, because it wasn't fully understood, it was to a certain extent exaggerated. And it did play on the psyches of a lot of people. Like, it played a huge psychological role, and it affected a lot of people financially, economically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I myself, since I am an essential worker, like, I've been outside the entire time from lockdown to now, and it was to the point where we were getting these letters from my job stating that we're essential workers to give to police in case of they stop us during the curfew. And I hit the copy machine. I made like 20 copies, gave them to all my homeboys. Like, here, hold this. So we outside. So for me, it's like I've been outside the entire time. I was outside when there was barely any cars on the road, and people were running red lights like it was nothing, because there was no one outside, like police, no one. You know, I was there when you heard ambulance nonstop. You just heard the sirens nonstop. Like, I remember one time I stood by the window and I timed it for 15 minutes straight. The ambulance sound just kept going. I remember doing Uber, and I was in Manhattan, ghost town. It looked like the I Am Legend, like ghost town. Like, you could hop out on Park Ave and just walk across the street at Times Square. No car would hit you because there was no cars on the road, not a soul. Yeah.
11 p.m. curfew.
Yeah. It was very spooky, to say the least. It was like the city was empty. A lot of the millionaires and billionaires, they left the city. So that part I saw the decline in income. I saw people scrambling. I seen the difference in attitudes and behaviors of people now that things are more lax and people are coming out. Like, I feel like the people that was inside the whole time, they came out a little bit different, because people's attitudes and behaviors is much different. Like, I personally, last year, I lost my grandmother. She was unfortunately one of the people that got caught up in the whole nursing home thing with Como, and my mother and us, and we weren't able to see her for a few weeks, a few months, and you know, she died. Like, her heart stopped, and they found her dead in her bed. And you know, even having the funeral in the middle of COVID, people barely came. People that came to the funeral didn't want you to touch them. So it's like you're trying to mourn, but people still acting weird at the same time. It's like, if you're gonna act this way during this time, you should have just stayed home.
Right.
You know, don't come and then half-ass it and then just act weird towards people. You know, and then we had to watch my grandmother's casket being lowered from the car. It was just a weird time. You know, like, it psychologically bothered me, I can say, to a high degree. Yeah, like, you know, driving for Uber part-time, I was able to see the city, like, you know, drive around the entire city, and I saw a lot of businesses close down, and it was disheartening, especially, you know, the small businesses. They took a big hit. You know, fortunately, I want to thank God, and I want to thank all the supporters for helping us to do so much last year in the middle of a global pandemic. We still received support. And it came in places that I wasn't expecting it to come from. So I thank God for that. I feel sorry for the businesses that closed, restaurant businesses especially. Like, I personally, I'm still wary about restaurants, because I wasn't big on sitting outside and eating food or sitting in those little plastic igloos. I wasn't with it, man. I was like, I'm good. I can eat at home. I can just take out and do Uber Eats. It's not that serious for me. I'm eating with your jacket on. But I've seen a lot of businesses take a hit because a lot of people that goes to those businesses, they didn't have the funds, or I saw some people depleted their whole entire life savings just because they were scared to go to work. And then when their savings ran out, then they maxed out their credit cards, because some people felt like this was it, you know? Those people I feel sorry for. There's people that haven't paid their rent in over a year. Those people I feel sorry for, because they have accrued debt in that time, right. You know? So the landlords I even feel sorry for, because that's how they live. Like, they're a small business technically too, so that affects them as well. So, you know, it affected the livelihood of many people. I thank God I was fortunate enough to still be employed, you know, so I thank God for that. But to the people that were affected by it personally or professionally, my heart is with you, and my prayers go out to you. Yes, it was. It was in a sense that I was doing my master's and I was working full time. I do have a family, and I am in charge of a ministry at church, and also a ministry professionally in these businesses. So to have all that weight on your shoulders and to deal with it on top of a global pandemic where you're stuck in the house, not many things open, and you're hearing ambulances, you're hearing the counts of people dying every day, and then everybody around you is scared, like including my parents, which are older individuals. Like, they were very scared and paranoid. Like, they was telling me, stay home, you have small children in the house, don't go to work. And I was like, if I don't work, they don't eat. like I don't got no choice. So I'm like, yo, it's whatever, man. Like, it is what it is. Like, I felt like Will Smith and Iron Legend. Like, took off my jacket and just went outside. Like, it wasn't any wild animals crossing the streets, but,
Right.
it might as well have been, because it was a ghost town. But it did affect me mentally, and it helped me to get closer to God in the sense that, yes, church closed, but during that time is when I needed faith the most. Because faith is the belief in things unseen, and during that time I had to believe in something that I couldn't see in front of me, knowing that there will be a better tomorrow in the future, and the things that's going on right now is only temporary. So that's what helped me to get through that situation. My biggest fear factor of COVID-19, for those that don't know, professionally I work in a shelter. I work in a social service field. It wasn't a big outbreak in the shelter because they eventually added an annex, so the population was split from 200 to 100 per building. But my biggest concern was the same as the nurse, catching the virus and then bringing it home, and then it affects other people, like, children, or older adults, like I said, my parents are older, like they're in their 60s, affecting them. And that always bothered me. That played a huge role in the back of my mind, and it still does, because I'm still going to work and this virus is still here. It might not be as prevalent as it was before, but it's still out there. Me, I feel like I'm physically fit and I'm strong, and I feel like if that was to happen, knock on wood, I would be all right. And who's to say that it came and went already, And sometimes, because it does affect different people differently.
Right.
So who knows? I could have had it and didn't know. Like they say, you could have it, don't know, give it to someone else, and they don't know.
Exactly.
Asymptomatic, or it could have or you could have the antibodies or whatnot, So all those things played in my mind. So thank God we're here a year later, obviously, and we're still good. So all glory to God. Again, I've been outside this entire time. So to me, in a sense, things have never really closed to me. The only thing that really closed to me during this time was church. That was one of the first places that was closed. I remember back in March, we did our last youth day in person, and people came at me online hard on Facebook, like, oh, you're irresponsible, you're a bad leader, they should remove you as a leader. How you gonna put all these people in the church during this time, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, our church is gonna be open. If people come, then they come. And there was so many people that came that day because they were saying that, like, their churches was closed, to the point where we had people in the balcony even. And I feel symbolically that meant a lot, in the sense that, like, we're still here. Up until the point our building got condemned and we don't have a physical building anymore. I feel like when church closed, a lot of people lost their faith, in the sense that a lot of people, I guess to them, since church was closed, religion was closed for them now. Like, they was just like, all right, church is closed, I'm good. I could do whatever I want to do. And, me being a youth leader, I saw it firsthand with a lot of my youth, with a lot of people, where they was like, you know how hard it is to get young people to get on a Zoom or to volunteer over a phone line?
Right.
They have so much distractions at home. They had distractions when they were in church, the phone and their friends. So imagine when they're at home and they could play video games in their room or something like that, you know? So I feel like it would help the young people if the building did open back up because of what it meant to them, you know, optically and physically, where they could go in a building and they could see these things, because younger people are more visual. In regards to schools, I think schools should open in the sense that it has been affecting parents a lot. Like some parents had to miss work, and you know, some people had to go on unemployment, some people had to go on welfare. You know, childcare is a big thing and it's very expensive, and I can tell you that because you know, I probably spend over $600 a month on just one kid, on just childcare. You know, that's a whole car note.
Right.
So imagine when you have multiple kids and you have to pay childcare for all of them. You know, it's either you stay home or one parent stay home and the other parent go to work. If you're a single parent, then you have no choice but to stay home and miss work. So I think churches and schools, I think those places should open. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, brother. I'm not with it. Like, it's not for me. I mean, if you choose to do that, it's your body. You understand? You're gonna live with the repercussions of that, if there is. And you know, if it helps you out, then great, more power to you. If it kills you or damage you, like we've seen it do to other people, then hey, that's the risk that you took by taking it. You understand what I'm saying? Right. We all see, like, most of the time when medications and vaccines first come out, we see years later that there's a class action lawsuit. Exactly. And, you know, Johnson & Johnson couldn't even get baby powder, right? You know, we found out later on that the baby powder was giving people cancer. Exactly. Now they're giving vaccines that was put out in less than a year. You know, I personally, I've never taken a flu shot in my life, knock on wood. And if I'm not trying to take a flu shot, I'm not trying to take a COVID shot, you know? Right. I'm Haitian, so we believe in natural remedies and medicine. So, you know, last year, all we did was drink tea every day. Drink tea? Yeah, man, that lemon tea. We drank the tea every day, every night. We drank the tea, and, you know, we just kept it safe. Like, I personally, I've been social distancing from people. I don't like going around people like that anyway. So, unless I have to, you know, right. So other than that, I'm good. So I'm not with the vaccine. You know, older people or other people that want to take it, then that's fine. It seemed like COVID didn't really affect children. So I know the children not really going to take it. So I know older people and certain people is going to take it. Ironically enough, I met this lady the other day while I was doing Uber, and she asked me the same question. She's like, "Are you going to take the vaccine?" I was like, "No." And she seemed surprised. Like she kind of flinched, and she was like, "Why not?" I said, "It's not for me." I was like, "I'm good." And she told me the story about how she had a sister that died from COVID, so it's different from her. I said, "Oh, okay." She was like, "Yeah, you know, it's more sensitive with me because I had a sister that died." So I was like, "Okay, are you going to take it?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, you surprised I'm not going to take it, but you have a sister that passed and you were even questioning it. So it's either you're trying to set me up or you don't even know what you want. So, you know how it goes. These people watch too much TV. Yes, of course. And information is slowly leaking out. Like, perfect example, how Cuomo hid the numbers of people that died in the nursing homes. And if we look at the data, you'll see that the rates of every other disease and illness went down. As in, the amount of people that died from the flu went down. The amount of people that died from ammonia went down. The amount of people that died from cardiac arrest went down because everything was under COVID. Like, and they also said that a lot of people died in their homes from just like I said, from the ambulance sirens just going off. Like stress kills.
It does.
And so like they had these people stressed, CNN all day, just putting the numbers, tallying up. It's like a scoreboard of people dying, and you don't got nothing to do. And you sit in front of the TV and you watching this all day, stressed out. Me, I went outside. I would take the kids to the park, and the park was beautiful because it had lush vegetation where like there wasn't people really coming outside, so nature was able to replenish itself and heal itself, and to see the park in its natural way, like I feel like that was beautiful. I feel like you were able to witness life without the bustle and the pollution that this population brings. Right. And I could say that that was one of the positive things. It helped you to slow down and to recognize the good things, but it also helped you to slow down and recognize the bad things as well, because the bad things was magnified as well. So yeah, I think they lie about the numbers. They usually do. I think the numbers were inflated. Of course they were, to make people more scared. And I feel like as time goes by, more things will come out like they always do. They always let the information out years later when no one else cares anymore. Man, you already know how I feel. Everybody knows how I feel about masks. That's no secret. I honestly feel like the mask was instituted by these perverted people. As in, we know that these regular masks that everybody wearing is not protecting you from COVID. That's just facts. The only mask that could really protect you is the N95 mask. And majority of the people we know are not wearing N95 masks. They're wearing those surgical masks, those little plastic masks, those fake designer masks that people are wearing, those paper masks that they're giving out. Those are not protecting you from anything. Right. I honestly, like I said, I've been out the whole time. When COVID first came out, they said nothing about wearing masks. They said just wash your hands and don't touch your face, right? Everybody was wearing gloves. I remember I was at work. We used to change gloves like 6 times a day. Right. We used to put gloves, hand sanitizer until our hands got ashy, change gloves over and over and over and over and over and over. Then like a few months later, oh, you got to wear a mask. So then people was wearing masks and gloves. But there was people caught in the middle. Like sometimes I'll be outside and the optics look crazy. Every time, look outside. Look at what the people are doing. You will see couples. One person have on gloves but no mask. One person have on mask but no gloves. And it was just retarded. Then you will see people with gloves and masks. And you will look at them like, yo, you look ridiculous. Right. Then they started taking off the gloves, right? Now you barely see anyone with gloves anymore. Right. But then now everybody's wearing masks. So you ask yourself, when the global pandemic first started, no one was wearing masks, but everybody was okay. Everybody had to wear gloves. But now everybody have on masks, but no one's wearing gloves. But yet everybody's okay. It doesn't add up. You understand? And then they said there was a shortage of masks for a long time. Then all of a sudden, there's masks everywhere, on the floor, everywhere you go. You can go in the corner store right now, they give you a mask for free. They'll give you the little surgical mask, the little blue one that everybody wears. So none of that makes sense. Then they're saying that, okay, you could take the vaccine, but then you got to still wear a mask for a little bit. Then they're like, okay, you could take... You got to take both shots, and then at one point, like, okay, if everybody wear a mask, 2 masks for a certain amount of time, it'll go away. Like, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. If you get COVID and it's gone in 14 days, right? I'm sure there was people that was wearing their mask 14 days straight. Why after 14 days it just didn't go away completely? Right. None of this makes sense. You understand? Me wearing a mask, like I wasn't wearing a mask. People was like, oh, you're gonna catch COVID, you're gonna catch COVID. I'm like, okay. And people would wear a mask and they'll come and sit next to me and they'll be upset. I'm like, you don't have to sit next to me. I'm not gonna wear a mask. The only time I wear a mask, honestly, is when I'm at work and I have to, or if I go into an establishment that's forced by the government to make people that's coming into the establishment wear a mask. Because if you don't know, businesses in New York are under the Articles of Incorporation. You have to get the seal approval from New York State in order to do business in New York. Right. So if they put out a mandate for New York State, if you're under that Articles of Incorporation, then you got to do what the state tells you to do. Because you went to the state and asked them permission to do commerce and do business within that state. Right. And that's why people are really wearing masks. Because when they walk into businesses, they got to put on a mask. Right. Because if you sit in your car by yourself and you got on a mask, you're a goofy. If you walking in the street wide open like this and you got on a mask, you're a goofy. If I'm sitting right here right now and there's no one around me and I got on a mask, I'm a goofy. People that watch The Real Word, you see every week we sitting in a circle, none of us got masks on. There's people that come to the show and we'll sit here with no mask and they'll sit there with a mask, and then when we're about to film, they'll take the mask off. I'm like, why are you taking the mask off? They're like, you guys don't have on masks, so I don't want to look stupid and keep a mask on. Right. But then now you see that as more of a psychological thing. It's not really something that's really going on. If you got 5 people in the room and 4 people not wearing a mask, the 5th person going to take their mask off. Mm-hmm. But if you got 4 people in the room and they're wearing a mask, the 5th person going to feel a little awkward. He's going to put the mask on. Right. And this is something that I've seen with my own 2 eyes. Churches are actually open. I actually went to a Catholic church on Lent. I believe that was the last... Yeah, it was Lent, right? When they get the ashes on their foreheads. when they get the ash cross on their foreheads, actually went into a Catholic church just to sit and watch. And what they did basically is they taped off every other row, and then they made you sit with your family. I think right now, movie theaters are opening, like you said earlier. People have been going to eat, and on the low, a lot of people have been going to parties this entire time. I don't know, maybe smoking weed and drinking alcohol stops you from catching COVID. I don't know, but it seems like people are only retarded half the time. As in, like, I'm not gonna lie, I went to a few parties last year and this year, and when I go, I don't see people with masks on in parties. For some reason, when the lights are dim, everything goes back to normal, right? I went to a couple backyard parties last year. People were dancing with each other, like guys with girls dancing. You know, I'm sure when people are intimate, like, they don't wear masks, you know? It's like, I'm sure of that, you know? So it's like, these are things I've seen with my own two eyes. Like, I've been to parties where there's like over 100 people there, and they're in close proximities. Like, you've been to parties, like, people are like bumping into each other, like, you understand? And I feel like if you can do that at a party, you can do that at a church.
Rickard, I just want to thank you again for allowing me to come into your space and have this interview with you. Hopefully we can do another one in the future. People, if you want, make sure that you check out The Real Word. What channel can we check out The Real Word on?
You can check us out on YouTube. That's The Real Word TV. You could do the www.youtube.com/The Real Word TV. You gotta check your local cable listings for The Real Word on the Brick Network. It's on cable television. It's on Verizon, Optimum, and Spectrum. It's on, I believe, 12 noon, 4 p.m., and 1 a.m. So you gotta check your local cable listings. I'm not really sure of the exact channels because I don't watch myself. So, yeah, but you can always catch us on YouTube and on Facebook, facebook.com/The Real Word 7. That's the number 7 like Mike Vick, or just put in The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Facebook. It'll pop up, or just Google us. It'll pop up as well. Yeah, so we out here. In regards to that whole Black Lives Matter movement, real quick, if you notice, all the people in the video with, I forget his name, George Floyd, don't have a mask. You know, that's the weird part. And he's screaming out, "I can't breathe." And they actually choked him. So I feel like that was a modern day lynching, just to let you know that, just to remind you that you're still a nigga, basically, you know? And we see the misappropriation of funds with the Black Lives Matter company, where they got over $1 billion last year in donations, and no one knows where that money went. So people were profiting off our pain, as they oftentimes do. I would say that Black lives always mattered to me, because I am a black man, and it mattered to the people around me, but to a lot of people it never did. And I honestly don't think we can force them to care about us, to be honest. Because when it comes to a racist, you got to understand that they're in a race.
Right.
Us as black people, oftentimes we forget that because we're too stuck partying and having a good time, that we don't understand that it is a competition. Man has always been in competition for survival. That's the primal instinct. So of course you're going to want people that look like you to do better than people that don't look like you. Our problem was always asking for equality from someone that doesn't respect us as a human.
Exactly.
That came into existence after us. So, you know, once we understand that paradox and we start doing for ourselves, then we can start building together instead of going to someone else and expecting them to not only accept us, but also see us as equals. You know, that doesn't make sense. That's almost like a king begging a servant to respect him. It doesn't add up. So yeah, I thank you for interviewing me. It's always a great time. And, I thank everyone that's watched this. And, I look forward to the third one.
Yes, sir. Well, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. And make sure you stay tuned to Gabriel Productions for more stuff in the future. Also, if you're on Instagram, make sure that you check out the Real Word
Ministries Inc.
Real Word Ministries Inc. And always, you can always donate. They're doing a lot of good causes for the community, so show your love.
Yeah, Cash App is $ the real word Inc. Cash App is the $ the real word Inc. Or check out our official website at www.therealwordministriesinc.org. That's the realwordministriesinc.org. You can also check us out on the PayPal Giving Fund or on Facebook Giving or even Amazon. When you purchase on Amazon, you could donate to the Real Word. So we look forward to receiving your donations.
All right, that's a wrap, and we're out.
I lost a lot of people to COVID too. I'm not gonna say that. And I have a lot of friends that lost family members due to COVID too. I understand that too. But I also understand that during COVID, a lot of agendas was pushed and a lot of things were manipulated. Perfect example, the stock market. A lot of people thought the stock market was gonna drop. Then we see what happened with Robinhood app, and we see what happened with the GameStop app and the movie theater app. You remember everybody was buying the movie theater app. Why? Because they got inside information that the movie theater is about to open back up. So everybody started opening it to the point where Robinhood shut it down. Because it's cool when rich people mess up the market, but it's tacky when poor people mess up the market.
Exactly.
Because the last time everybody got their stimulus check, that's all they did was go and buy stocks. Now everybody's in stocks. But you gotta think, when everyone's doing something, that means it's towards the end.
Right.
Because at first, stocks was only for rich people.
Right.
That got it handed down from generation to generation.
Right.
Another thing,